Devoting 2 portions, one each evening, to the 75th anniversary of the Wizard of Oz movie. For reasons that probably don't need to be explained, not only to this crowd, but to any crowd anywhere in the world, because there is no film that has been seen and memorized by more people. I don't think you can go a week if you watch television, read newspapers, read magazines, go on the internet. You cannot go a week, perhaps even 2 or 3 days, without finding a quote from that film's dialogue, a reference to one of the characters specifically from the film. The lines, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore, I'll get you and your little dog too. Of course, no place like home. Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking. There's a host of those, and some of them are even truer than a nice way to do it both evenings. Tonight we have with us Ryan J. of RyanJReviews.com. You can like him on Facebook. You can like him on Twitter. This is the blurb that they say every Friday on TV when he does his host segment. I've known Ryan since he was 10 years old. He's a fellow Milwaukeean. And he came to an Oz Club convention at that age in Zion, Illinois with his parents, and we met. He has acted in professional Oz stage productions, but primarily now, after a career in media in New York, working for Showtime and a number of other cable stations and networks, he has become the movie critic for the NBC affiliate in our hometown of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He is also a nationally syndicated radio critic doing his movie reviews. And if you buy Us Weekly magazine, he and his former broadcasting partner Carolyn are part of the fashion police, making tacky comments about tacky clothes being worn by tacky people on the last 3 pages of that magazine every issue. So please welcome, first of all, Ryan J. Ryan? And the other young man on the stage is a newcomer to the Oz Festival, to Oz-Stravaganza, and to the International Wizard of Oz Club. We had met last September at the re-premiere of the film in Hollywood. We had corresponded prior to that. And I just thought that he should be known by you if you were willing to, if he were willing to come and be part of all this craziness on my word. He got here yesterday. He has not left yet. These are always good signs. Aaron Harburg is the great-grandson of Edgar Yip Harburg, the gentleman who wrote the lyrics to all the songs in the MGM Wizard of Oz movie, who worked on the script to help with the casting. His great-grandfather was part of that process. His great-grandfather also wrote the lyric to Brother, Can You Spare a Dime, April in Paris, all the songs in the musicals Finian's Rainbow, Jamaica, Bloomer Girl, an extraordinary Broadway career, and Aaron now, as a young man, is being slowly propelled into the family legacy in his own projects. So we're just very fortunate that he was willing to come here today and bring us a genuine connection to the legendary Wizard of Oz film, Aaron Harburg. Now we were all 3 at the re-premiere at Grauman's, I said Grauman's Chinese Theater on stage, and 27 employees of TCL Chinese Theater stormed the stage to tell me I was desecrating their purchase and their 3D IMAX pavilion, the largest 3D IMAX in the world, which it is, and that's wonderful. It's just that it is not Grauman's Chinese Theater anymore, it is the TCL Chinese Theater. However, if I say Grauman's tonight, just realize that I'm an old person who will always think of it as Grauman's. I don't care what they call it. All right. But we were all there. Warner Brothers had invited me to MC the event, a huge honor. I always say, the song says, the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Well, that was a dream I had never imagined in my wildest imaginings. Ryan was there covering the film for the Milwaukee affiliate and for his syndicated radio show. And Aaron was there as the great-grandson of Yip Harburg. And we all 3 had kind of different things to do that night. And Aaron, you basically were at the party beforehand. That's where we said hello. And if you would, tell them a little bit about the party and how it felt to be part of something like that, because I don't believe you had ever taken part in anything like that before.
No, the closest thing that I had been part of was in 2009, when they first restored the film, I think, into high definition. The Academy premiered the film before they released their 70th anniversary, and so I had the opportunity to go to that in Hollywood.
Was that the... Now, I was there on one of those nights. Was that the night Jerry Maron's pants fell down on
That's
stage?
the same night.
Yeah, that was...
That was the same night.
Jerry
I was
had
being
got...
gracious. But...
Jerry, our Lollipop Guild kid in the middle, was still making appearances 5 years ago. And he had been sitting in the front row, and he came up on stage to do a little bit of question and answer. And I don't know if he had undone his belt for comfort or what, but he stood up. Most of him stood up. One part of him fell down.
Quite entertaining.
But, so to come to the Chinese theater then, and to be part of the gathering, one thing I remember about that, they had a party upstairs. Ryan wasn't invited. But Aaron and I was... Aaron and I were there, and they had a pair of the original ruby slippers, the ones that were just bought for the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences by Steven Spielberg and Leonardo DiCaprio and all these people for $2 million, with a guard standing there in front of the slippers. And a lot of stars milling around, and you're going to see those in Ryan's footage. But I remember we just kind of went and stood in a corner, you and I and some of the other fans, and talked about it all. What is your reaction now as somebody who is 2 generations removed, but still carries the name? And is it odd? Is it a proud moment? Has it evolved since you were a kid? How you feel about all this?
Well, for me personally, my journey into Oz and my family legacy has been a bit more recent. It was certainly surreal to be there, and I've been to a number of different events where my great-grandfather was honored, and so I'm like, oh, this is sort of neat. But for me personally, it was sort of the culmination of a journey that I had started in late 2012. So, everyone knows Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I mean, obviously, officially titled Over the Rainbow. And I was...
Nice save.
Yes, I almost committed the mortal sin. But I can remember one night in New York, I was at a restaurant with my sister, and I looked around, and I realized not only would everyone recognize this song, but would have a personal connection to it. And so then there I am a year later, so it was about a year later, in, the iconic Chinese theater, whoever owns it, and, surrounded by celebrities, all celebrating the words that my great-grandfather wrote for this film. And so I felt very proud and honored and sort of overwhelmed, sort of like Dorothy being picked up and thrown there, because I'm originally from Michigan, I'm not from any major city, and it was quite amazing.
Do you, so many of the songs, all of the songs in the film are iconic at this point, but Over the Rainbow, obviously, because of how many awards and how many lists it's made, is, I think, more than iconic. We talked about this earlier backstage, and I don't even know if there's a word for it, but it, I think, also, in addition to all of the awards, has the distinction of being covered by more artists than maybe any other song in music history. Do you have a favorite cover or a favorite version of the song aside from the film version?
The Hawaiian version is shockingly good, even though they mess up the lyrics a bit here and there.
All the way through.
Yeah. I was being gracious.
I don't have to be anymore. I'm 63 years old.
But also just the Judy Garland. There's one particular recording of the Judy Garland Over the Rainbow that was recorded several years after the film was made. And you can hear in her voice the endurance of years of suffering. And then at the same time, just this intense hope that pushed her forward. And I remember listening to it and just being utterly overwhelmed because, these lyrics and this music has basically carried so many people forward, and I could hear that in just this one recording. I could never find it again, but I just remember being totally overwhelmed. The second one, if I had to pick favorites, is towards the winter of my great-grandfather's life. He was on a number of television specials, and he's not a great singer. I mean, he can usually keep the notes, but when my great-grandfather sang that song, it had a whole nother dimension to it. Every nook and cranny, of that song was being expressed, because it really was him and Harold Arlen sort of put to music, and he was a very optimistic fellow, and I just was, it's an incredible trip. I think you can find it on YouTube if you type in Aaron Harburg, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, but I was just like a hot mess when I was watching it, so.
That's a real recommendation. Now you were there as in your capacity as a professional journalist, but it meant so much. You've done a lot of professional journalism now in the last 20 years, and you've covered the Harry Potter films and many red carpets and many premieres and reviewed many movies. But to be there that day, you better tell them how you felt, because they would all have killed to have been you.
Well, I would have killed to have been me, and I think it's those pinch me moments, and you and I talked about this too, because above and beyond the labor of love, which is a term we kick around enjoying our careers from time to time, it was
when there's no money.
The fulfillment of a lifetime of passion and joy to be so close to something that meant so much to us always. And for me, above and beyond just the work that was there, which in retrospect I'm so glad is documented on disc now and online, because you just kind of float through the experience. You're so over the rainbow about it, if I may, pun intended. But to also be there to witness you MC that night was a really special thrill for me as a friend, to see you succeed in such a brilliant way. And I know we talked about it on the tape, but also to see one thing that cameras weren't really documenting is that live, before this first time ever largest IMAX screen in the world debuted the 3D version of this film, John was there and you interviewed Munchkin, who's no longer with us.
Ruth Lucini, right? It was her last appearance.
Mm-hmm. and introduced some other special acts, and that was something that, you know, kind of, no matter what else life does to you, can't take away from your memory. So I'm very thankful for having that moment, even though I didn't get into the party ahead of time. It was really cool to see your introduction, and you were amazing.
But I had been sitting in my apartment in New York in September 1988, writing the chapter about the premiere for the 50th anniversary Wizard of Oz coffee table book, and writing about Ray and Bert being there, and Billy Burke, and all these people, and what a sensation it created at Grauman's in 1939. And then to turn around and be there doing it myself was, it was like more than pinch me, it was more like, you know, hit me with a plank, because you don't expect these things. And without further ado, I think we should see the report you filed on the premiere, because Ryan has brought the footage with him. So let's pay attention to the screen and watch him in action with some of the stars who were there that night.
What's your best? And what's his skit? It's Movie Reviews with Ryan J.
Hey, I'm film critic Ryan J, and I'm super excited because my favorite movie of all time is The Wizard of Oz. And in 1939, it premiered right here at this iconic Hollywood theater. And now, in celebration of the film's 75th anniversary, it debuts here once again, remastered for a one-week engagement exclusively in IMAX 3D. The Emerald City, the Yellow Brick Road, the Munchkins, Ruby Slippers, and Toto 2, all set to dazzle us in multi-dimension. It's a great day to be an Oz fan, and the love for this pop culture phenomenon is shared today on the ruby red carpet. We're Why do you love The Wizard of Oz?
Judy Garland. Judy Garland, I love her. I love the story, I love those slippers, I love it's a fantasy and fairy tale, and I love it.
I watched it since I was a kid. One of my favorite movies of all time. What's not to love about Wizard of Oz?
It's so good, and it's so cheerful, it just makes you feel good.
It's a classic. It's one of the great movies. Obviously a huge Judy Garland fan, but I grew up watching it.
The story holds up, the acting holds up. The characters are amazing. And that's amazing makeup. For today, that's amazing makeup. What they did, it doesn't look cheesy, it doesn't look, so it's incredible.
I love The Wizard of Oz because it brings people together and shows us what can be accomplished when we join with other people and take our limitations and join together and make a team and go after a goal, a great quest, and a vision.
And it's such a classic that even though in today's movies world, they get so confused with it because it's such a timeless movie and the characters, you can never get tired of them. I agree. I mean, it has everything that I look for in a movie. It's a musical, It has funny characters. A little bit of scariness with the Wicked Witch and the flying monkeys. It still scares me. Yeah, it's a little scary. And it's funny. And it's great. It makes you feel good after you watch it.
You're emceeing tonight. How does it feel?
Well, you've heard me say this before. There's a lyric in Over the Rainbow that says, the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. This is one I never in a million years dreamed. It's, when they asked me to do this earlier this summer, said, no, we have to have you MC. And it was like, well, it was just 25 years ago this summer that I was writing about this premiere, the original premiere for the first book I did about the movie. And so I knew everything that happened here in 1939, and to think that now I get to be a part of it, and part of just a tiny little piece of the mosaic of Oz history, but what a privilege.
I've never seen it on a big screen. I'm so excited to see it for the first time in 3D.
They said Wizard of Oz in 3D, it's all you need to know.
Seeing it pop out, it's just going to be beautiful because it's already such a beautiful film. Just seeing it go, whoa, it's going to be even better.
What moment are you most looking forward to seeing in 3D?
Oh, I want to see the flying monkeys in 3D. I want to know how they're going to pop those because those are frightening to begin with.
Are you excited to see yourself in 3D IMAX?
Well, yeah, I never thought of that, but I really just thought about the movie, and I was thinking about how the flying would go, you know, and the things coming at you. Yeah, it's just kind of fun to see it all.
What does it mean for China Girl to be seeing The Wizard of Oz in 3D?
For China Girl, it's going to be really cool because she's just this like little porcelain doll with this big world, and getting to see this big screen movie that's the original of her movie. It's really cool. Because like Oz-Stravaganza was prequel, so this is kind of like her afterlife.
Where do things stand right now for a potential sequel for Oz the Great and Powerful?
There's been talks about it, nothing has been confirmed yet, and as far as right now, no, but you never know.
How do you think that your uncle Ray Bolger would feel about seeing the 3D IMAX version of this film?
I think he would be remarkably excited, and I decided that he is excited because I feel like he is here with us, and I can't wait to see him in this new mode and the new technology and the ever-evolving of this incredible movie. But I think he'd be thrilled to pieces. I wish he was here, but in spirit he really is here.
What scene are you most looking forward to seeing in 3D for the first time?
Oh gosh. I think with Dorothy coming up the Yellow Brick Road with the Munchkins behind her, because that is so dimensional. You have the huts and the Munchkin village in the background, and they're all advancing. And not only because of Judy, but because so many of the Munchkins have gotten to be personal friends over the last 25 years. And that's very nostalgic. You see, there's Jerry, there's Margaret, there's Meinhardt, there's Carl. It's a wonderful thing.
What does this new version mean for the legacy of the film?
This version means that it's there in 3D, and anybody can look at it in 3D. And until they come up with a hologram that puts you right in the film itself, this is going to be it. So why not? Let's have it.
How has playing the role of Dorothy in the new Andrew Lloyd Webber production changed the way you think of The Wizard of Oz?
That is a question. It's amazing. I mean, I always loved the film, and I loved watching Judy Garland perform and learning so much from her and bringing that into my own performance. I think I've grown to love that character even more. I don't know how much more you could after Judy Garland, but I have, I think.
Can we do a quick little call and response to Dorothy Gale?
Okay.
Follow the
Yellow Brick Road.
There's no place.
Let home.
We're off to
See the wizard.
You win. Do you have any childhood memories of the film?
Well, initially, my first one was probably 6 or 7 years old, where the monkeys scared the hell out of me. And I told them, we saw this movie a year ago with my 3 kids for the first time, and I gave them a rundown of what to look out for, you know, so I think they're a little prepped for it. And then we saw Bella Pantages right the next day, we went and saw Wicked.
Things that show like the holidays, you know, like every other local TV stations would show like Christmas and whatever. And I always watch it with my family. A lot of fun memories watching Wizard of Oz over the years.
I love the flying monkeys. I know it scared a lot of my friends when they were younger and they saw the movie, but I have a very high tolerance for horror, and it's one of my favorite things. So I think that the flying monkeys are probably my favorite.
What is your happiest memory about working on The Wizard of Oz?
There's so many. Probably when you walk out onto that set as a 9-year-old, it is so gorgeous. And, you know, it's so beautiful, right? And just gorgeous. And then I remember, as a child, I remember Glinda's dress was so sparkly and beautiful. And Dorothy's shoes, I love those. And she was so sweet. And Toto. Remember these things. And Margaret Hamilton, who's the Wicked Witch, of course. She was so nice. She was just darling to us.
What do you think the principal cast would think of this premiere here today?
I think they'd be blown away. I know they'd be grateful because I've read enough about them and I knew a couple of them personally and I knew how they responded to fans' enthusiasm. So I think if they could see this, they would be blown away.
Favorite line in the movie?
There's no place like home. My favorite line is when the cowardly lion gets punched in the nose by Dorothy and he goes, "Is my nose bleeding?" I'll be all over the road. I mean, come on.
Lions, tigers, and bears all mine.
He's my pretty little dogs. There's no place like home, of course.
I can do a semi-tolerant Wicked Witch cackle.
We see Danielle Wade in that clip, who, of course, plays the role of Dorothy. She won through a competition, a reality TV competition in Canada, and is touring nationally now with the Andrew Lloyd Webber production of The Wizard of Oz. And I'm just so curious to ask you, Aaron, because we've both seen it and have discussed it, and I know many Oz fans probably are on the same page about this. But I think it's sacrilegious to add new music to Harold Arlen and Aaron Harburg's score. Have you seen it? What do you even think of that notion?
I was at the same showing as John Fricke, actually, and I'll be diplomatic.
I won't be.
Don't be.
Let's see how I can put this.
It sucked.
It was. It's the height of arrogance to think that you can come in, first of all, as someone who's not American, and improve upon what is the quintessential American musical. Second of all, it's the height of arrogance to think that you can come up with a better way of encapsulating the yearning for Dorothy in a song than Over the Rainbow. So, I think Andrew Lloyd Webber, or Lord Andrew Lloyd Webber, if you will, got a little too big for his britches. So, I hated it thoroughly. I got so bored about halfway through, I just stopped clapping, and I thought, I'm not saying this to be denigrating, because I am a gay man, but it's harder to make The Wizard of Oz more gay than it already is, and they succeeded. And I think they took out some of the magical elements and just made them campy for the sake of campy, and I found that offensive. And they eviscerated some of the main plot elements, like the Scarecrow's supposed to be intelligent, but in the show they made him stupid. The lion is like clearly sort of just, he's not, trying but then failing, he's just like straight up effeminate, and like there's just a whole bunch of elements that I found very frustrating because it's clear he didn't understand the significance of this work.
Right, and then just the music, the tone, and lyrically even just didn't match at all with the music that already exists and we all consider perfection. So
The Wicked Witch has a big number at the beginning of the second act with the Winky Guards. The Winky Guards are played by both the men and the women of the chorus. That's fine, that's economic. But about 3/4 of the way through this number, the Winky Guards drop their Winky cloaks and take off their hats, and they're all wearing dark jeans and checkered shirts, and they go into this kind of gay rodeo dance step on the beaches of Malibu routine. You really, I'd say you have to see it to believe it, but I don't want anybody to buy a ticket. I was like, Aaron, I was sitting with a good friend, and she and I had known each other for 49 years as Garland fans. And in the second act, we just sat there with our hands in our laps because we could not believe what we were seeing. Have any of you ever seen either movie of the producers when the first night audience goes to see Springtime for Hitler? That's what we look like. And Ryan has a special clip to show. It's a sneak preview of something he's putting together for next year because of a special anniversary that takes place then.
Year to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Return to Oz. For the first time ever, Ozma goes on the record. A Ryan J. Reviews exclusive, and will release first interview about the 1985 Ozzy classic.
Is that for the glass, Dorothy?
The memories stories.
What do you remember about that?
It was a beautiful moment because I do remember as I stepped through the glass, everyone went silent.
Behind-the-scenes stories.
Veruza and I were the only children on the set. We were singing and dancing. We needed this to be a musical, you know, we were the only brats on set.
Secrets.
What's your name? Ozma.
That's not your voice?
Not my voice.
You're kidding.
And more.
I always thought when I watched Return to Oz that I saw Ozma as someone who seemed kind of serious and mature.
Yes, I'm a fabulous actress.
Coming in 2015, only at RyanJReviews.com.
So extend your invitations to Oz festivals and conventions now to Ryan J. for the full pack. Will Fairuza Balk be involved in your potential Return to Oz documentary?
Possibly. I don't have a confirmation yet, but potentially.
He'll go after the fourth wheeler on the left, Ryan. One of the last projects that Harold Arlen and Yip Harburg worked on together was the full score for a 1962 cartoon feature called Gay Paris, and it was about pussycats in France. And the lead pussycat was sung by Judy Garland, which is how Harold and Yip came to work on that cartoon. And the song, the philosophic song in that, is called Little Drops of Rain, based on the legendary children's rhyme, Little Drops of Rain, Little Grains of Sand, Make the Mighty Ocean and the Pleasant Land. Well, Yip expanded on that for like another 32 or 48 bars. And the concluding stanza of that is, Little drops of rain, little rays of sun, make the hopeful rainbow glow for everyone. And Judy sang the hell out of it in that picture and in that recording. And she loved that song so much that in late 1962, she was doing Little Drops of Rain in her act instead of singing Over the Rainbow. She had great hopes for that song. Unfortunately, by 1962, no song could take the place of Over the Rainbow, so she went back to doing that one. But that's a perfect rainbow example from your great-grandfather. Your favorite Yip Harburg lyric?
That's a tough one. I generally don't have favorites of things. I mean, even food, it sort of just depends on my mood, so sort of whatever's going on. You know, the first thing that popped in my mind was not actually a song that he wrote lyrics to. So I'll tell you my favorite poem, and hopefully that will suffice. It's called Inscription on a Lipstick. It's very short. Oh, innocent victims of Cupid, remember this terse little verse. To let a fool kiss you is stupid, but to let a kiss fool you is worse.
My favorite verse of your great-grandfather's, when The Wiz opened on Broadway, Yip was charitable publicly, but he privately detested The Wiz and its treatment of Oz. And in that early 1970s mood of the country, mid-1970s mood of the country, he wrote 4 lines that said, "From Roosevelt to Nixon, from the wizard to the whiz, oh dear Lord, it can't be, but oh my country, 'tis." I want to, we're going to wrap up with some film clips that I'll introduce in a second, but I want to thank Ryan J. and Aaron Harburg for being such a pivotal part of this